you need to work hard. That's something what is perfectly true. Even if you have talent, you need to find your way into new topics, and this is basically what I did.
What are the key skills that a CPO needs to have?
I think the skills what I learned is really you need to have a good understanding about how to lead people.
What stands out to me is how standardization of processes and driving the KPIs can really help things get better.
Standardize first, and then you are ready to automate. Otherwise, it might not work perfectly.
Yeah. I think what worked for you, and to paraphrase, is to really follow your heart, right? And you said, this is me. I love reading a lot, and I'm going to share it with the world.
I would give as an advice, if you want to do something on social media, if you really want to contribute and grow there, just get started and share what you also like.
Marcell, you are at the envy of every corporate leader. You started as a CPO, you went up the stairs, and now you're a CEO. So what's your secret sauce?
Oh, many things. I'm not sure if I would fully sign off on this statement, but I think there's two things which had really impact on my career. Number one is, of course, you need to work hard. That's something what is perfectly true. Even if you have talent, you need to find your way into new topics. And this is basically what I did. But there's also a second element on that. I simply had luck. I was at the right time in my career, at the right company. And also I had the right leadership team helping me to progress and really make a career. And probably these are the two things, hard work and luck, what it takes to start your career and develop your career.
Amazing. And that's a great start. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the CPO podcast. I'm so incredibly privileged to have with me Dr.Marcell Vollmer, as he's known to the rest of the world, and Marcell to me, highly esteemed colleague and somebody I've known for years. And welcome to the CPO podcast. My name is Arun Bruce. I love procurement. I love supply chain and leadership. And I hope you enjoy this conversation. Marcell, you talked of leadership and hard work and luck, and not many people talk about luck, but thanks for acknowledging it, right from the word go. And you've had an illustrious 35 plus year career. You don't look it. We all know that.
Thank you.
You have a head full of hair, a little bit gray, but still fancy. And so it's, and if you look at your 35-year-long career, what have been some of the key turning points in this career?
I think it definitely started with getting my first job even before I fully graduated from university. This was one key element, I would say, and definitely a kind of turning point in my life, because I was self-employed before. I had already a chance to finance my time at university by myself, but then basically starting a corporate career and going really to the normal, let's say, business life and not being an entrepreneur was the first turning point in my career. And then continue basically with every single step I could make whenever I was asked. Or raise a hand for saying, wow, this would be a topic I might be interested in. I might not have the full experience and would not have been hired just because of my background, what I have done before. But basically, if there's an opportunity and I'm already part of the organization, probably there's a chance also that I put my hat in the ring and give it a try if this is something which could be exciting for both sides.
Amazing. Lovely. That's great to know. And again, I come back to the different hats that you've worn. And for those watching us, Marcell has played different roles. He's been head of procurement. He's been head of integration of a large merger. He's been leader in the digitalization world. He was a partner with one of the large consulting firms and now a CEO. So among these different roles, I'm sure you must have a favorite. I'm sure your heart must be saying, you know what, Marcell, this was a great time. What would that role be? And what have you learned from that experience?
Based on the different steps and the experience I could gain, it's definitely the role as CEO right now, and also being an advisor at this point in time, because I have an opportunity to combine the different elements of my expertise now into one function. And I have also the full responsibility of what I'm doing. And a lot of things what I have seen in the corporate world, which were not necessarily how my heart felt at this point in time, long-lasting decisions, lots of committees, lots of meetings and alignment, what is needed before you can do something. I think there's a chance when you step up that you can really take decisions. You're also fully accountable for the decision. That's the flip side or the gain, depending on how it goes.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say the role as CEO is it.
Amazing. So it does help to be at the top of the ladder, as they say, and that's good to know. And for all the reasons that you mentioned, which is the freedom to craft your culture and the way things are done, and still, of course, to be very accountable. I think that's great. One of the other thing that stands out in your career is your evolution to being CPO of a multi-billion dollar company. And you were not from the traditional procurement background. You didn't start your life as a buyer or a category manager, and yet you made CPO. In your mind, what are the key skills that a CPO needs to have? And what skills sort of helped you succeed?
I think the skills, what I learned is really you need to have a good understanding about how to lead people, how to define the right structure, the organization, and also how to define end-to-end processes. You need also to know how to negotiate. But let's be fair, as a CPO, you only have the negotiations at the higher end and already progressing in the cycle of the sourcing. So therefore, I would say that's something, of course, you need to learn and understand, but it's not necessarily needed. At least it was not needed in my time when I had a chance really to transform the organization, to make it more global and also define end-to-end processes. And finally, also to decide what are the right systems? What is it really what a buyer needs to be more effective? And probably based on my shared services experience, my process understanding and my leadership, what I have done before in the post-merger integration roles were important elements, I would say, to really give the trust to the leadership team to say, hey, Marcell, this is exactly what we need right now, also to transform procurement and to bring procurement from a more administrative, operational function, more to a value-adding function by really fundamentally also changing it. And this is what I would say is really the steps what helped here to build a career in procurement. Nevertheless, the functional expertise is important.
Of course.
And day one, I started really going deep into that and learning also all the different elements of the source to pay processes and the negotiations, what you have to do.
Yeah. No, that's great. And probably the fact that you weren't sort of from the procurement junior levels also potentially gave you a unique advantage, right? I mean, you were able to sort of not be sort of held down by the typical ways of thinking, of course, while developing the functional expertise. That's fabulous. That's great to know. You mentioned shared services experience and expertise. Tell us a bit more about what that experience was. How did you gain it, and about that journey and how it helped you?
So basically, shared services was when I was tasked to transform and centralize a customer service organization, first for Germany, later on also for Europe, and then to integrate it in a broader set of companies which got merged at this point in time. I really learned, wow, how effective it can be to centralize functions and also to standardize processes. We have seen it with the KPIs. We could simply provide better service for our customers. And this is something where I was really intrigued of and thought, wow, this is something in customer service which could also be leveraged to other functions like HR, like finance, like marketing, like facility management, even legal could be included in that. And this is something what I really learned, what can help to bring shared services also to the next level. Also talking about technology and the lights out shared services. I know this is a term which is already more than 20 years old.
Right.
I know we are in the age of artificial intelligence, but I still believe we are not at this level right now. We might get there, and I'm a big fan of automation of software. I was 20 years in the tech industry, so therefore my heart is definitely on the tech side.
Indeed.
Nevertheless, you need to be realistic, and it's also about the people who provide the service to the clients. And this is something also what I learned what's important, and you can serve your client in a better way when you do it in a shared services setup, at least for the functions I have seen and I could integrate as merger integration or just the internal processes to update them and bring them to the next level.
That's great. That's a fabulous journey. And Marcell, you told us about that shared services journey, and what stands out to me is how standardization of processes and driving the KPIs can really help things get better, right? Otherwise it's tempting to think of standardization only as sort of process improvement and sort of compliance, but it allows for scalability, allows for things to actually get better. I think that's fabulous. That's great to know.
Standardize first,
Yeah.
and then you are ready to automate. Otherwise, it might not work perfectly.
Yeah. Words of wisdom there, ladies and gentlemen. Standardize first, otherwise you can't automate. So all this stuff about AI, big data, if you don't have the basics right, it's good conversation, but that doesn't happen. I think that's very practical and something that I'm sure we'll all remember as we go along. Now, when you switched from being, let's say, an operator or a leader of shared services, and then CPO and head of digitalization for SAP, then Celonis, and then you went to the advisory side, you were a partner with one of the firms for a while. How did that experience help you? And what were the skills that you had to, let's say, unlearn or relearn to be effective in the switch to advisory?
It was definitely exciting, becoming an opportunity at my age already at this point in time, after all the functional and the corporate roles, that I got a chance to become a partner at one of the leading strategy firms. So what I learned very quickly is I got hired, of course, to support the operations side, supply chain procurement, main focus, of course, procurement, digital procurement to be more precise. On the other side, it took only a few days that the partner organization understood, oh wow, he has experience on SAP side, on the S/4HANA transformations, a topic which is on top of mind of a lot of senior executives at this point in time. Another one was also, when you talk about the IT transformation, implementing or upgrading an ERP system, you come very fast also to the topic of standardization of processes. I just mentioned standardization is key for the automation. Therefore, my experience on the Celonis side, a process mining company, to really understand and have first time a chance to look into the black box of an ERP system. Even when I ask people with 20 years experience in the IT world, hey, explain me, what is an ERP system? You get different answers from different people.
I don't know what ERP does, but yes, I'm sure there are many like me.
And therefore, it was really great to have software with process mining to kind of X-ray, to look in the black box, and you could visualize all the process steps, and you could immediately identify where are the bottlenecks. To combine this now and define the standardized processes, and then also upgrading, implementing to the new software. This was something which was on top, really also helping me to go on different areas of expertise. And therefore, I could combine the elements of my expertise in that partner role, what I was lucky to get.
Of course, which is also where we spend a lot of time together. And that's very interesting. So what's at least interesting to me is how the breadth of experience really helped you, Marcell, in that transition, because you realized, as you said, there were many other facets to your skill set that were monetizable and that were in demand by the partner group and by, therefore, the clients. And I think that's fabulous. I remember those conversations as well. So that's quite fabulous. Switching a little bit to lessons from this journey. So one of the questions that I've always been tempted to ask you is, what lessons have you taken from these different hats that you've worn onto your personal life away from work?
I think what is definitely key is that you keep an open mind, and also that you have agility. And I'm very curious, so learning new things was always something which resonated very well on how I feel and what I do. My hobbies, for example, are also one of my hobbies is reading. I read a lot, and then I learned, oh wow, when I read stuff and it's probably interesting not only for me, it's also worth sharing it on social media, for example. That's something also what might make sense to have others participating. And that's really what I learned. Stay open-minded and be curious, because then you experience and see, okay, are these things which can help you? And also, we always talk about successes. We don't talk about failure. We don't talk about all the stuff was read and basically did not lead to anything other of,
Very true.
I wouldn't say wasted time, but at least of time spent, and probably not in a way, when you look back, how you would have done it. But nevertheless, I think it's a good learning, it's a good experience, but also sometimes the bad ones or things where you recognize I'm not so interested in that. And that's also the reason why why I am where I am right now and not very deep in one functional topic, or haven't done a career in medicine or another field, or in legal, where you need really very deep functional expertise. There are lots of other functions. I don't want to narrow it down too much, but basically, I like more the general perspective, and therefore, yeah, you can say I'm a jack of all trades on the one side,
Indeed.
but not really very deep in anything, to the latest bit and byte. But on the other side, everyone needs to do what helps you for your career, but you ask for the private life. It's also on the private side. And for me, there's also no such thing like work-life balance. There's a life balance, because
Interesting.
I want to do what I really like and enjoy to do.
Yeah.
And this is also what helps me. I'm not looking at the hour and say, oh, when can I go home? No. I try to do things which I really like to do.
Yeah.
And of course, not everything is sunshine and it's very nice. Sometimes it's also hard work and things very administrative, boring stuff. Of course, this also happens. But if you have one defined goal and this is what you want to achieve, it might be until the end of the day, end of the week, month, year, whatever, then you have an intrinsic motivation. And this is also where I felt very early, when I can motivate myself in that way, I can really do things and achieve things.
Yeah.
If I need to do it and it's boring and it's really tough to do, you might need to get over it.
Yeah.
But you really see, you want to get rid of that as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And as mentioned, it's also the portion of luck to have opportunities to develop yourself in that direction. And therefore, I'm also very thankful. Thankful also my DNA, my parents, basically, that I got good genes helping me, that I'm not ill or have anything severe I struggle with, things like that. And this definitely helps also a little bit.
Great. And there are several sort of nuggets of wisdom there, and we'll pick on all of that as we go along. And you talked of life balance. So not work-life balance, but life balance. And I think that's an interesting choice of words, and how when you are intrinsically motivated and driven to achieve something, stuff just happens.
Yeah.
One of the things that I will pick on for our next conversation is LinkedIn. You're sort of a mini LinkedIn celebrity. I don't know, you have what, 200,000 plus followers on LinkedIn. Yeah, that's fabulous, gentlemen and ladies. 200,000 LinkedIn followers. That's awesome, right? And in spite of your busy schedule, you still find time to be very active and engage with people. How do you do that? And how did you get here to start with? What sort of lessons can we all learn on that journey?
Basically, back in 2017, when I got promoted as Chief Digital Officer, and I was part of a big corporation, you get a lot of advice from marketing teams, from social media specialists, and people really telling you what is it now, what you should do as a senior executive in a corporation.
Yeah.
And I listened to that, and basically, in a nutshell, it was, hey, do the same what we do and just post it under your name. And I was thinking a little bit, this does not necessarily resonate with me. Yeah. I'm not sure how others see that, but for me, this was not me.
Yeah.
And then I thought, okay, let me ignore all of that. And because there was one sentence in all the briefing what I got at the beginning, which was really, for me, eye-opening. They told me, Marcell, whatever you do, you will not be very successful, and you will not really increase your followers and your connections to a really significant level. Yeah. Then I thought, okay, that's also not so important. And for me, it's also a new topic.
Yeah.
And starting with around 6,000 followers in 2017, I thought I changed one element.
Yeah.
I read a lot.
Yeah.
I like that. And there's a lot of stuff where I believe probably others could be interested in this as well.
Yeah.
And I simply press one button, share.
Right.
And this is exactly what I did and what I continue doing, where I say, wow, probably this visualization of the GDP around the world might be interesting for lots of people.
Yes.
Here are topics when the Evergreen, the big ship, was stuck in the Suez Canal. Oh, wow, probably that's something also other people might want to think about. What to do in a supply chain disruption, even when you might not have intransparency, and also how far do you need to think? Because it was not only the ships stuck in the Suez Canal and the ships behind from Asia not getting to Europe. It was also the ships in the Mediterranean Sea not getting through. Yeah, the other way. And this means there's already delay today for probably 6-8 weeks out. And these are things where I believe, and only building on 2 examples, where I think with an infographic, with a short video, you can really explain things and also highlight stuff. And I only do it in the way where I believe, hey, it's interesting, at least for me. Probably others like it as well. I was really impressed about seeing that it went up, and I've even overtaken the CEO after a certain period of time.
I wonder.
And marketing came all the time and told me they couldn't believe it. And but it's all basically grown. Also due to the fact that I was speaking at lots of conferences and had a chance also to connect with lots of people. And therefore, it was a win-win situation, the role. And I'm very thankful also that I got an opportunity to travel the world, more than 100 countries. And on the other side also, that basically I could get the freedom to do what I like to do. And this was not only sharing corporate content, it was sharing what I read anyhow and what I just want to let others participate on it as well.
Amazing. That's beautiful. So I think what worked for you, and to paraphrase, is to really follow your heart, right? And you said, this is me. I love reading a lot, and I'm going to share it with the world, and I hope that people will gain from it. And then you built your own followership of like-minded people who benefit from that content. I think that's fabulous. Yeah, and then you had higher number of followers than the CEO. I wonder how that went. So that's amazing. I think that's really good to hear.
It was interesting just to build on that, because then people ask me, Marcell, can you tell others how to do it? And then I said, it's an interesting question. Everything what you told me, what I should do, I have not done. And now I should tell others how I have done it. But there's one thing, and I think that's also probably valid for my career. I'm not sure if you can really duplicate something, what happened also in a given time. And as I mentioned, probably the luck piece is also not to underestimate on the social media side, because I figured out that, it works very well. And basically, some of the influencers were also connecting with me. And by that, I had even more interesting content I could share. And therefore, the easiest way, and that's what I would give as an advice, if you want to do something on social media, if you really want to contribute and go there, just get started and share what you also like. Don't do the marketing, the PR stuff. So really share stuff, be authentic. And that's basically the feedback I got also from the influencers. They don't understand what I'm exactly doing. They are also not really seeing that it is not a business model of me. I've never tried really to bring this to the next level, also to capitalize my followership. It was more basically that I just shared, and the authenticity, something where people said, oh, wow, that's something, and probably the reason why they follow. But on the other side, this is just my outside view on that. You need to ask my followers, but a lot of them to ask.
Yeah, a lot of followers to ask, but that's great. I think truly love what you said. Be authentic, and then that helps things certainly. Great. Moving a little bit to, let's say, topics that we both like, procurement and AI. Now, there is a lot of talk in the procurement world and in the broader world that AI will fundamentally transform the function.
Mm-hmm.
And there are different opinions out there. How do you see this evolving?
There's a big hype about artificial intelligence, and probably some of you might have heard about the hype cycle, where there are certain topics and wow, now everyone talks about artificial intelligence. By the way, if you remember back, there was a time also people were talking about blockchain and things like that. And I know cryptocurrency is still on and a hot topic, no doubt about, but it's really a hype at a certain point in time. And then later on, you need to be realistic. What is the business impact? And this is for me always what counts. And to keep it very simple on the procurement side, I think when you look back in procurement, it is in the meantime, I would guess 30 years that they talked about e-procurement. So procurement goes digital, and now we see all the different IT systems, procurement systems,
Right.
and the function will transform, and basically everything will be automated soon. As of today, there are two things. The IT investments have not been done, that the function is really highly automated, and there is still a lot of operational and administrative activities. And due to the lack of investment and the fact that we have these operational activities, I have a strong belief with investing now, because the function is, from my understanding, underinvested. What I have seen,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about the CPO role I had.
Right.
I'm talking about also lots of other procurement areas I had a chance to connect with and meet them.
Yeah.
And when you are part of a software company, of course, lots of people want also to know how you leverage your software.
Yeah.
What is it, what you do? And this gave me an opportunity to also talk and see a lot of other procurement functions
Right.
in more detail. Probably when we now will have investments in IT, on the procurement side, we have a huge opportunity to really get rid of the operational and tactical tasks. Artificial intelligence can do a lot. And I would definitely believe that this function does not look the same in the next 5 years. We will see fundamental impact by the process automation, by artificial intelligence, large language models helping you do the contract management in a different way. You will have other opportunities with AI also to find new suppliers, by that to become more resilient, and also think about what you can do with the forecasting capabilities, what you have also based on artificial intelligence. It is much more than in the past. I was using the term Excel macros on steroids. It's no longer true. Artificial intelligence is on a totally different level, and I believe it will fundamentally change the procurement function, but not in a negative sense, because I'm pretty sure the operational and tactical task, not sure who loves this, might be that some people, and sorry, I don't want to be disrespectful of the work which is done and which is needed to do. But on the other side, if you like to do more value-adding activities, want to more spend time with suppliers to think about what is it, how a supplier could help a company, probably this is the right time now to step up and also see that the procurement function might stay the same or even might become smaller in the future. But the activities you do, the task you have, might be much more strategic and fundamentally supported by the capabilities of artificial intelligence. And at the end, it's the use case what really counts, the business value, what you can create by introducing digital transformation, and by that, artificial intelligence. It's only a tool, isn't it?
Absolutely. So you're bullish on AI's impact in procurement, and you expect to see it transform. That's great. Another important topic that we all hear these days is tariffs. Love it, hate it, it's here to stay, thanks to all that's happening around the world. Now, with all the tariffing and the geopolitical fragmentation or consolidation, if you will, how does the role of a CPO change? What new skills does a CPO need to have?
I think, number one, you need to understand the global supply chain. I know there's a lot of talk right now about focusing more on country or regional buying and basically no longer being part of the global supply chain. In certain countries, we see there's a conversation about that. On the other side, it is still a globally connected world. And we all see that we need raw materials from one side to produce certain things, to manufacture. We need also global transportation. We need still oil or gas for the transportation. And we also have different channels and different markets all over in the world. I think this will not change in the future. Therefore, as a CPO, you need to understand what is the impact of the global supply chain by tariffs. Basically, it means when a tariff comes, the price goes up. And the question is, who is paying for that? Is it that you have a price increase? We see this right now happening. North America is a good example where we see a lot of prices are getting increased by that. We see in other areas where it is not necessarily the case. And this is in Asia, for example, where we have a little bit, where we have a different development. And this is something also you need to understand what is the impact on tariffs on your product. And there it comes also on the alternative suppliers or the substitutes for the product. As a CPO, you need to understand what's possible to do. If you can't get it from one country, from one specific supplier, are there alternatives around the world? And sometimes it might be also that these alternatives, not just that you go instead to supermarket A to supermarket B. This is easy in a city, but globally, it might be also that you need to develop a supplier. Some suppliers are developed over time. Sometimes it can go very fast. We all love the smartphones, what we have. Probably we are too addicted. Some might already watch now on the smartphone our interview right now, which is fair. The glass on the smartphone, the touch screen, this was developed by Corning in 45 days. And basically, this is something also they were already a global leader in glass.
Indeed.
And the touch functionality from Steve Jobs asked for because the initial screen on an iPhone was plastic. But what happens with plastic? It gets scratches. And we have all seen, the gray hair indicates, we have also seen the area before smartphones.
Yes.
Even the rotary phone is something, but for the millennials now, they might not even know what I'm talking about one. But when there is a need, like getting a new product to another level because you need an innovation, that's something also where you might need to spend time to develop it and work together with a supplier, find a supplier who is willing to do that. And fortunately, Steve Jobs had a great connection to Corning, the CEO, to make it happen and really ensure that it works in that way.
Amazing. So having a good idea of tariff impact across your supply chain is critical.
Yeah.
Developing alternatives, as traditional as it may seem, is extremely useful. Some of these things, and you do believe that supply chains will continue in some shape or form to be global. I mean, you don't see the regionalization happening quickly.
I would say as long as we don't find another Earth where we get raw materials from, what shall we do? And as long as we're also not identifying different markets, where shall we sell our products to? So therefore, I'm a strong believer that the global economies, there's a change. There's an ongoing change all the time. When we look back 1,000 years, 100 years, or even the last 10 years, there was no COVID for 10 years before. Things like that. We all have seen that there are tremendous changes what can happen. But I believe that we will stay in a globally connected world, and we need also to find a way of collaborating, partnering with each other, because otherwise we might not get the scalability, and we might also not have a chance to really develop the next products helping us to go to the moon. I don't know if we go to the Mars anytime soon, if it's even worse to do the journey. I don't have any opinion on that, but basically all the great things, doesn't matter if you go to space or if you look inside the world, go down in the ocean, whatever you want, you need to have technology and the smartest people to work together, to collaborate, to innovate and think about the problems and the challenges what we have and how to turn a challenge in an opportunity. We need people to think about it, and it is not that we have people only in one country solving all the problems. And even if this would be the case, we need the global side of the people to really also take the political decisions and the economic decisions. And therefore, I'm a big believer of global supply chains and the global trade, and I'm pretty sure it will continue. But at the end, the future will tell us if this is really going to the next level. And predictions are hard. in particular about the future. It
Indeed.
was not me, it was Winston Churchill, Mark Twain, who said this quote first. And but it's perfectly true. We don't know what we don't know.
Very true. Marcell, you're a fan of the Middle East, as you've mentioned many times. Tell us what excites you about the Middle East.
Always amazing to see how fast things are changing and developing. When I come to the Middle East, and it doesn't matter which city I go for, wow, there are new high rises. There's a new infrastructure project. There's also a next step on a digital transformation, kind of smart city evolution, what we see. This is really exciting. And I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah.
And have to say, wow, if we would have this level of speed everywhere in the world, we could achieve tremendous things and really, really leapfrog to go here to the next level. I know it's a question about leadership. It's also a question about money.
Yeah.
And it's also about size, because it's a different thing. So population is a little bit smaller compared to really large populations, what we see around the world. But I'm a big fan of the Middle East, and that's the reason why I come here, and you know it,
Absolutely,
on a regular basis to the Middle East, and hopefully we will see much more in the future. I'm pretty sure we will.
Indeed. No, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. That brings me to my last question and my most favorite one, I'd say. What advice would you give to your 20-year-old self?
Basically, number one, I definitely would urge work hard. Because I'm a believer, still, I know that next generation has a little bit of different understanding, but the work hard is not necessarily meant that you do the manual operational stuff. It is more meant, find something what you really like and then work hard. And this means focus. And this is something I would definitely recommend to everyone as an advice. Probably if you find this, and if you are lucky that you're also in the right region, in the right country where you can develop yourself, because I know it's not everywhere the same in the world. That's something where you also have not only see work as work, but also combine it with the fun part. Second thing is that you can't manage luck. It's not possible to do, but basically you can influence the situation or situations by being open and also thinking about what might be a good spot. And whenever you figure out something is not the right thing for you, and I will not say that there is no pain in life, there is private business, definitely, it will continue. It's not quitting.
Yeah.
It is more when you really see, oh wow, this does not bring me anywhere.
Yeah.
Stop it. Go to something else and do something what you really enjoy and where you think you can go. And I don't see it as you need to make a career in corporate, what I did, or on the advisory side. If you like to paint, if you like to do arts or things like that, wonderful, wonderful. And we have seen great masterpieces all over in the world what got created. Do whatever you like and where you have really also can combine the fun and the work piece together.
Amazing. So work hard and be open to exploring is what you have to say. And with those words of wisdom, ladies and gentlemen, we bring this inaugural podcast of our CPO podcast series to a close. Big thanks, Marcell. Thank you for your words of wisdom, and have a lovely evening.
Arun, many thanks. It was a great pleasure, and great conversation. Appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you.